Solana has recently tripled in price, $8 to $25. That's a big move to the upside. However, we are hitting a major resistance zone from 2021 and 2022. And when we see a big move like this, typically what we see next is some type of profit taking, which is referred to as a correction. So today we're going to go into detail with Solana. So like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and let's dive into SOL. Today we're going to start on a daily chart. Key reminder, markets tend to move in 5s and 3s. And what I want you to focus on here is the blue lines and the pink box. So from Jan 2021, we had this beautiful textbook 1, 2, very impulsive 3, sharp 4, and then a 5, November top. And then it looks like we've had now A, B, and a pretty clean wave C, which is broken down to a 5-wave sequence. That is textbook Elliott wave pattern. But what I want to pay attention to right now is this pink box. This pink box is going across. 2021, we had this resistance zone, support. The price booted up. Then we had support. And now that support is likely to be a new resistance for this move to the upside. So it's just to be on alert, because technical traders, big boys, and the small players tend to pay a lot of attention to support and resistance zone. And it's probably the $25 mark is going to be difficult for Solana to get through initially. So first of all, we just want to know that we are at that resistance zone. So if I just zoom in over here, let's just make it a bit bigger. This is the recent price surge to the upside. And again, it's not confirmed, but it's a pretty big move to the upside. And we're in this zone over here. So we're likely going to get some type of correction. So we're going to go into a bit of detail on this. And by the way, if you want access to this chart, you can now actually download it for free. I'm going to save this chart at the end, and you can have all the setups, and you can upload it into your own trading view and edit it as you see fit. So what we're going to do next is we're going to dive into a 1-hour chart. But before we do, just want to look in the top left-hand corner. I am aware that the weekly momentum is currently bullish. So we're going to be looking for shorting opportunities, but we're just aware that the weekly momentum is still up. But sometimes you don't get the perfect setup, but you have to make an executive business decision to see, right, what is the edge and how do we see the market playing out over the coming days and weeks. So now going into the hourly chart, let me just make sure I'm going to the hourly chart over here. I've drawn some Elliott wave patterns, right? Remember what I said, markets tend to move in 5s and 3s. Few key factors. If you haven't done Elliott wave before, wave 1s tend to break down to a 5-wave structure. Wave 3s also tend to break down to a 5-wave structure. I'm going to talk about that because that's important with this particular pattern setup. And then wave 5s also tend to break down to a smaller degree 5-wave structure. What do I mean by that? What does that mean in English? Well, if you focus on the green lines, what we can see in the recent move, we had a pretty decent move up, some type of correction, very impulsive move up, very explosive, an overextended wave 5, with some type of correction, and then another move up. Now, when wave 3, which is this part, is clearly the overextended impulsive wave, wave 1 and wave 5 tend to equal each other. They tend to be pretty much exactly the same. And that's what this looks like to me. So in the red, we've drawn this 1, 2, 3, 4, overextended 5 of a wave 3. So it looks like Solana is not only in that resistance zone that we spoke about on the daily chart, it looks like it's also making a textbook 5-wave structure, other than the fact that it's overextended. This is pure panic buying, right? And it's normally retail investors that do the panic buying because, they miss it over here, they miss it over here. And then, having seen everything else, and when the price starts to go here, everyone stampedes in, drives up the price. What typically occurs is that a big correction tends to occur, and most people that got in here will tend to lose out. That's just, especially if you got in over here. So you just want to be aware of that as well. I don't normally use volume. I don't really pay attention to volume that much, but it can give us valuable insights into the market. So I just want to bring this to your attention also. Volume over here just tells us the trading activity. Now, wave 3s tend to have the highest volume, and wave 5s, even though wave 5s are typically higher than wave 3, the volume tends to be lower. And that's what we're seeing over here as well. So this just gives us a further indication that the volume is higher over here for this wave 3. This wave 5 is slightly higher. It's a wave 5 with a question mark, by the way. I need to put a question mark there. But we can clearly see the volume is much lower. That also indicates to us that this top is likely to hold. Other traders may call this a double top over here. Now, it could continue to the upside, but we want to see what the edge is. So just thought I'll bring that to your attention because there's some potential good shorting opportunities. And by the way, if you want to learn more about elite waves and Fibonacci and how to read the market like a pro, I've got a 4 Secrets Masterclass. It's free. It'll just take you to the next level and really seeing in detail how the markets tend to move time and time again in 5s and 3s. And around 60, sometimes 70% of the time, the patterns are very clear and evident to see. And when we can see them, we can use that as valuable information to help us make the right decision. So now what I'm going to finish on is, just so we're on the same page, what I'm anticipating, right? Medium term. Let's just look at medium term. I'm going to use this question mark for up here. I'm just going to just quickly change this to the color green, just so we know that this is not confirmed yet. Not confirmed. So what I'm anticipating with Solana, it is bullish overall. However, once you got a big movement like this, most common is some type of correction. It's like a big sprint. The sprinter then runs out of breath and needs a breather. It needs a rest period and needs some recovery. And then at this point, we want to be on high alert because we're probably going to get a trend continuation. That's the likelihood. Not guaranteed, but that's the likelihood. But rather than just waiting for this moment down here, there's going to be some good shorting opportunities where we can make money as the market moves down, if it moves down. So there's a few things we want to take into consideration. So first, I'm going to focus on some price action. So because what we know at the moment, what information do we know? If we look at the trend identifier dashboard, is that the daily momentum is strong bear downtrend. What that means in English is that it's pointing down, right? So the immediate momentum is down on a higher degree time frame, right? So that's important and valuable information. So I want to go in the direction of the daily momentum. So that's down at the moment. So what I'm going to be looking for is something called a pattern reversal signal that increases the confidence that this top is likely to hold and that we are likely to get a movement to the downside. But how big of a movement to the downside is the big question. So I'm now going to do some Fibonacci ratios, which are a leading indicator, which can be very, very powerful for us to see what's highly probable. Never guaranteed, just highly probable. So we're going to do something called a retracement. I'm going to take this low to the left and then this high. Most corrections tend to reach a minimum of 50%. And because this is so overextended, 50% is quite far away from the market. And the typical maximum is 78.6%. It doesn't mean it can't go beyond, but that's the most common, highly probable, most typical, right? So we want to go with that. Then I'm going to do something called some Fibonacci time retracements. Now, this can give us, again, a big clue if the market and the trend does tend to correct. If it does correct, how long should it correct for? So there's actually particular ratios. I teach this in the masterclass as well, by the way. If I take this low to this high, there's two ratios. It's the 38.2 to 62% time retracement. I'm just going to draw a box over here that tells me next Saturday, so the 21st to the 23rd or the 25th is likely. So we're talking about 6 to 10 days, 6 to 10 days of possible sideways to down movement. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to make money here. And if this does occur, looking to make money here. And if this does occur, then I'll be looking for potential long opportunities, right? So we're now just doing some nice projections in advance to see what's highly probable. And now what we're going to do next is really pay attention to the trend, what I want to see with the momentum before I even consider a short trade. And then we'll look at something called pattern reversal signals. So first of all, the daily momentum is already bearish, right? And it's been overbought for quite a while now. So we're due a correction. I'm going to wait for the 4-hour chart momentum to be overbought and ideally bearish. Then this is in the same direction as this, and that just increases the odds of the trend going in the direction that we want it. Now, when I say want it, as in, we're betting on the downside. Now, there are some advanced strategies that we can do to counteract this as well. I'm not going to go into that today, but what I want to finish on is really zooming into this part of the market. I'm just going to let's just get rid of these drawings for a second. Let's just really, really zoom in over here and just look at this price action. So, in fact, sorry, let me just bring that back in. If this is, in fact, a wave 4, if the price goes below this point, that will be our first early indication of a pattern reversal signal. If the price goes below this point, so if it goes below this point, that will be a stronger indication that this top is going to hold. So that will give us a bit more confidence. If it goes below this low, it's not as stronger confirmation here, but it's still an early signal. So my ideal scenario, it doesn't mean it's going to play out. My ideal scenario is that the market does something like this and then does some type of pullback. The 4-hour momentum is overbought or bearish at this point. If that's the case, I'll go short on a swing low, stop loss either above this swing high or above this swing high, and then to ride the trend down because it's quite a big movement to the downside. So with Solana right now, the key things to take away from today is the daily momentum. You can see it in the dashboard. It's strong bear, meaning that the momentum is down. The volume is weaker at the wave 5 section than at the wave 3. So what I mean by that, if we just quickly do a recap, is just this over here. We can see that the volume is much stronger at this peak, and then it's almost half at this peak. But the price up here is higher than this. And that's typical for an end of a trend. It's a mini trend, but it's a 5-wave sequence. So that gives us another clue. So we've got volume indicating, we've got pattern indicating, we've also got a major resistance zone from 2021 and 2022. We've also got the trend identifier dashboard on the daily momentum saying it's strong bear because we've got the bearish reversal. And by the way, if you haven't already, you can now take advantage of the trend identifier dashboard. It's £1, 30 days, test it out to your heart's content. I'll also give you some training on how to use it, how to upload it. It's really, really powerful, but it's in conjunction with other elements. It can be a standalone strategy, but if you combine it with pattern and price or something along the lines that you already use, it can be a really, really powerful resource to increase the probability. So check this out. That's in the link below as well. Anything else that we need to cover here? Well, I'll tell you what I'm looking to do next week. Right, next week, we're Sunday today, so next week, the main thing is this to be overbought or bearish. Ideally, I want some type of pullback. If I get some type of pullback, that'll be very positive. Now, the challenge with pullbacks is they don't always come, right? Sometimes it will just break the low and then it will just take off to the downside. So we have to be ready for that and have a strategy for that as well. But the ideal scenario is we do get some type of pullback, short on a swing low. That increases the odds. Put our stop loss in a place that what shouldn't occur based on logic, and then just ride the trend for maybe 7 days to the downside, and then look for 5-wave patterns time and time again. So there you have it. Solana, major resistance zone coming up. What do you think? Because Solana was over $200, right? And now it went down to $8. So even though it's now at $25, in the grand scheme of things, when we've zoomed out, it's still tiny. So we've still got a lot of work to do with Solana, but it's healthy for a market when it pumps that there is some type of correction. And then the next pump tends to be bigger, which is also referred to as a wave 3. So we're going to be a high alert with Solana. We'll keep very, very close eyes on it. Let's finish on a quote from my book. We're going to go with chapter 5 again, because repetition is the mother of all skill. And sometimes you just want to ingrain certain information and programs into your mind so it becomes easier to operate from. And this one is really, really relevant because people can overcomplicate things and overanalyze things. And there's Leonardo da Vinci, and he says, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Keep your strategy very simple, very logical, as mechanical and as objective as possible. So it's not based on gut feel. It's not based on an emotion of fear and greed. It's just literally A, B, C happens. Momentum, pattern, price, bomb, put in your order, risk your relevant capital exposure. I like to do 2% for my whole account size, and then just place the trade and then manage the trade and then rinse and repeat, and rinse and repeat.